There is a kind of love that does not arrive with trumpets. It enters like dusk, soft, inevitable, until you realize the room is lit by a light you never saw turning on. It is not loud, and yet you feel it everywhere. No declarations, no rehearsed vows, only a hush that makes your nervous system exhale, as if some interior animal finally trusts the forest again. Carl Jung would say the psyche speaks in images, not announcements. The soul doesn't beg for attention. It communicates through symbols, gestures, and subtle weather patterns in the space between two people. What we call love, at the level of persona, words, labels, roles, is often a costume. What love is at the level of self is older than language. It is archetypal. It rises from the deep. If you've ever sat across from someone and felt your breathing fall into rhythm without trying, if silence between you becomes presence instead of absence, if you sense their inner climate before they say a word, you've touched the field we'll explore tonight. For the next hour, we won't chase romance as performance. We'll track love in its native habitat, the unconscious. Here's the promise. I will not give you tricks, scripts, or top 10 hacks. Instead, we'll map 6 quiet signatures that authentic love leaves behind, often unintentionally, always unmistakably. We'll keep roughly the spine of the classic Jungian lens, but we'll deepen it with a few allies. A glance from neuroscience, a whisper from myth, a breath from contemplative practice, and the steady ethics of stoicism. Together, they form a compass you can trust when words are cheap and signals are fogged. First, a frame. Jung spoke of persona, the mask we develop to meet the world. Shadow, the disowned parts we exile. Anima animus, the inner contrasexual psychic principles. And individuation, the slow, holy project of becoming whole. Love, real love, doesn't bypass this work. It participates in it. The one who truly loves you will not collude with your mask, nor worship your wound. They will relate to the living psyche in you, the self that seeks wholeness, and in doing so, they will disturb your illusions with tenderness. That's why genuine love often feels like a homecoming that also rearranges the furniture. You'll hear me use the word archetype. Think of it as a deep pattern the psyche recognizes. Mother, father, friend, healer, trickster, lover, king-queen, warrior, magician. These patterns are older than biography. They shape our stories from beneath. When love is true, it constellates archetypal energy, meaning you start sensing timeless images in the most ordinary scenes. The hand that steadies your shoulder like a guardian. The gaze that invites your truth like a priest. The silent walk that restores your courage like a healer by a river at dusk. Modern science peeks into this mystery from another angle. We know about mirror processes, the brain's capacity to echo the states of another, and about the nervous system's choreography of safety and threat. But if we stop at biology, we miss the myth. Biology describes the mechanism. Myth names the meaning. In the Greek tale of Eros and Psyche, love withdraws when it is forced to perform under harsh light. It returns when Psyche matures, when curiosity becomes devotion, and trials engrave depth into the heart. The story is a mirror. Love doesn't vanish. It waits until we can see. The Stoics add a stern kindness. Value what is within your control, your presence, your honesty, your steadiness, and release your grip on what is not. Approval, outcome, image. In love, this becomes a vow without theatrics. I will stay with what is real. I will not manipulate your perception of me. I will cultivate a character that your nervous system can trust. And then there is the Tao, the way. Lao Tzu describes water, soft, persistent, finding its path without argument. The most enduring love behaves like that. It doesn't insist, doesn't grandstand. It adjusts around your edges until your edges remember they were never meant to be walls. So, what will we actually do? We will look for love where it hides, in the unconscious choreography beneath words. We'll watch for 6 signs. A wordless synchronization. When soul recognizes soul and the room begins to breathe for you both. A steadfast, positive projection, not fantasy, but a holy stubbornness that refuses to forget your deepest potential when you have. A total presence, an attention so unfragmented it creates a sanctuary where your real voice emerges. An integrative way of conflict, where tension becomes transformation rather than a theater of control. A response to vulnerability that does not fix, flee, or feed on confession, but simply stays clear, warm, unafraid. A fidelity to the little things, the mundane gestures that compose a liturgy of care when no one is watching. Each sign will keep the original backbone you may recognize, and each will grow new musculature, practice, image, science, and story. You'll receive grounded ways to notice these signatures in your own life, how to differentiate devotion from performance, how to cultivate this kind of presence in yourself first, and how to honor it when you are blessed enough to receive it. Let me be clear. None of this is a diagnostic tool to judge someone from a throne. If the ego gets hold of these signs, it turns them into a purity test and calls it discernment. That is not this work. The psyche has a different ethic. Begin with your own presence. Become the person whose love leaves these signatures without trying. Then you can recognize them in another with humility. Think of this video as a night walk. We'll step out of the city of slogans into a valley of symbols. Your eyes will adjust. Shapes will separate from the dark. And somewhere between your breath and the world's breathing, you may feel a presence that neither argues nor promises, but simply is. That is where love lives. If you're ready, slow down. Loosen your jaw. Let your shoulders drop as if you've been carrying a bag you forgot to put down. Whatever your relationship status, set it aside like a coat on the back of a chair. Tonight is not about possession. It is about perception. It is about learning to see with the soul's eyesight, what Jung called vision through the imaginal, so you can recognize the ancient, quiet truth already moving through your life. The first sign waits just beyond the threshold, where language thins and bodies begin to echo. We'll meet it in the hush. There are moments when you realize the conversation started long before words did. A shoulder softens, a jaw unclenches, and without deciding to, your breath falls into pace with someone else's. If you were to film it in slow motion, you'd see a choreography no one rehearsed. Micro-expressions reflecting like moonlight on water. A hand reaching for a cup just as the other sets theirs down. Silence thickening, but not with distance, with attention. Jung would say the psyche recognizes itself. Biology nods from the wings, but myth conducts the orchestra. Let's give the phenomenon a name you can carry. Unconscious synchronization. It is not performance. It is what happens when two nervous systems sense enough safety to stop bracing and start listening beneath language. Contemporary science observes mirror processes and autonomic co-regulation. Jung hears an older music, the anima and animus stirring, the self arranging an encounter that exceeds biography. Think of two sitar strings. Pluck one, the other hums in sympathy. The instrument did not choose, resonance chose it. You've likely felt this in hardship most clearly. The day collapses. You have no sentence large enough for it. Someone you trust walks in, scans your inner weather without interrogation, and suggests a quiet walk. Not to fix, to join. Your body recognizes the offering before your mind does. The room becomes breathable again. The ego wants to call it intuition. The soul recognizes kinship. A Jungian view says this is not learned behavior alone. It is archetypal, a lover-healer field activating between two psyches. The synchronization reaches beyond gesture into meaning. You are not being managed, you are being mirrored. Where manipulation aims to steer your state toward the other's preference, attunement allows your state to be and meets it with presence. That distinction saves lives. Let's widen the lens. Underneath the skin, your autonomic nervous system runs a primal protocol, scanning for cues of safety or threat. Voice tone, facial softness, posture, rhythm. The music of another person tells your body whether to armor up or let down. In unconscious synchronization, the music aligns. Not because either of you pushes it there, but because a third thing emerges, the field between you. Jung called the space where two realities meet the temenos, the sacred container. In that container, the psyche behaves differently. It volunteers truth. We also meet this sign across distance. You think of someone and they text, "Are you okay?" You dream the same symbol the night they make a hard decision. Skeptics shrug. Lovers smile. Explanations vary, but the experience is ancient. Jung tracked such a causal correspondences as synchronicity, meaningful coincidence without obvious causal chain. Whether you read it as psyche extended or pattern-hungry memory, the felt sense remains. A bridge forms where logic expected water. Here's where myth joins us. In the tale of Eros and Psyche, love hides when forced under interrogation lights, then returns when Psyche's trials ripen her perception. Synchronization is like that. It dims when controlled, strengthens when honored. In Taoist images, two reeds lean in the same wind, not identical but responsive. In Sufi lore, there is a barzakh, a meeting place between worlds, where things become more themselves by being with the other. This is what happens in the quiet between two people who are not trying to win. A caution belongs here, because the unconscious is a generous stage for fantasy. Not every echo is love. Some are trauma harmonies. Your nervous system recognizes a familiar pattern, but the pattern belongs to an old wound. How do you discern? True synchronization reduces your self-abandonment. It steadies your breath, widens your options, clarifies your no and your yes. Pseudo-synchronization feels intoxicating but narrow. You become performative to keep the music playing. One path makes you more yourself, the other makes you more strategic. 3 anchors to help you tell the difference. 1. Afterglow versus aftermath. After time with them, do you feel quietly nourished, even if nothing grand happened, or subtly depleted, even if it was exciting? The body keeps the score and the scorecard. 2. Freedom of pace. In real attunement, you can slow down without punishment. In mimicry, your slowing triggers anxiety or pressure to entertain. 3. Consent inside the silence. Synchronization respects edges. If the silence begins to feel invasive, the other adjusts rather than pushes. What can you practice to cultivate this sign without forcing it? Attunement breath, 3 minutes. Sit across from someone you trust. Let your gaze rest soft, no staring contest. Each person follows their own exhale until, without trying, a rhythm emerges. If it doesn't, you do not chase. The point is not to sync. The point is to notice when the room does it for you. State naming, 2 words only. Mid-conversation, offer 2 words for your current inner weather. Tender, tired, or open. Unsure, no explanation. The other simply mirrors back. Hearing tender, tired. This tiny ritual trains presence over performance. Dream bridge. For a week, each of you keeps a small dream note. Share 1 image without interpretation. A staircase, a river, a locked room. Watch how often the other's day brings that symbol to life. Not proof, but invitation. A short clinical vignette, disguised but faithful. Mara and Eli came to therapy calling themselves stuck. Most sessions were debates. One afternoon, the lights in the building failed. No screens, no timer glow. The room fell into dusk. Mara's breathing, usually clipped, began to lengthen. Eli, who fills silences with data, grew still. They sat there. When the lights returned, they both had tears in their eyes, not from drama, but relief. In the dark, they had found the room that breathes for 2. Our work from then on was simple. How to build that room on purpose without counterfeiting it. Cutting 1 obligation a week. Protecting an evening walk. Practicing wordless presence after hard days. Their arguments didn't vanish. They softened into conversations held by a wider field. A stoic companion steps in with an assignment. Focus on what is yours to govern. In the realm of synchronization, that means self-regulation. You bring a nervous system to every meeting. If you arrive braced, you will read every gesture as a file to close or a threat to manage. So train the simple things. Sleep enough to dream. Breathe low into the belly. Put your phone down like a sword you're choosing not to carry. You cannot force attunement, but you can become available to it. Archetypally, notice which figures constellate around real synchronization. Often the healer stands nearby, but so does the warrior, the boundary keeper who ensures the healer doesn't collapse into rescuing. The lover opens the field. The warrior guards the edges. The magician translates experience into meaning. If any one of them monopolizes the room, the music warps. Integration keeps the song honest. What about long-distance love? Think in rituals rather than intensity. 2 minutes at the same hour daily with cameras off. What is your breath like right now? Share one sensory detail of the room you're in. The smell of rain, the warmth of a mug, the sound of a neighbor's laugh. You are teaching your nervous systems to meet across space without needing spectacle. Over time, the field grows predictable in the best way. Safe enough for truth, alive enough for surprise. And finally, a paradox. The more you cling to synchronization, the faster it evaporates. It's water. Hold it with a cupped hand, not a fist. If the rhythm disappears, do not panic. Notice. Name it. Return to yourself kindly. The field does not punish maturity. It depends on it. When you encounter this sign, you feel seen without being seized. Your body stops auditioning for belonging and remembers it already belongs. Words become optional, not because there's nothing to say, but because the silence is finally saying something true. Take a breath. Feel the chair holding you. The next sign asks a different courage, to be looked at not only as you are, but as you could be, without pressure, without fantasy. The gaze that refuses to forget your wholeness when you do. There is a look that does not flatter and does not flinch. It does not inflate you into a fantasy, nor shrink you to your worst day. It sees the fault lines in the mountain at once and chooses to speak to the mountain until the fault lines learn they are not the whole story. Jung would call this a positive projection anchored in reality, the soul in another recognizing the larger pattern moving through you, even when you can't. Projection, in most conversations, has a bad reputation, and for good reason. We cast our unowned shadow onto others and then argue with our own darkness dressed in their face. But Jung also noticed a rare occurrence. The psyche can project upward as well as downward, not as blind idealization, but as a steady remembering of the other's deepest possibility. This is love's peculiar genius. It speaks to the seed as if it were already a tree, not to pretend, but to invite. Let's draw a hard boundary first. Idealization and persistent positive projection may look similar from a distance, but they smell different up close. Idealization edits reality to preserve euphoria. It erases complexity, refuses feedback, and demands an identity you can't sustain. Persistent positive projection includes complexity. It tells the truth without humiliation. It holds your lapse and your light in the same palm. Idealization says, "You are perfect and must never disappoint me." Positive projection says, "You are unfinished and magnificently aimed. I will not forget that when you do." You've likely tasted this in your own life. A teacher who wouldn't let you submit the smaller version of yourself. A grandparent who looked at you like a story still being written, and therefore worth patience. A friend who, when your voice trembled with shame, spoke to your courage as if it were in the room. Not pep talk, not performance. Recognition. Neuroscience offers a modest lantern here. Our nervous systems are apprenticeship machines. Attention shapes probability. The expectancy effect, often called Pygmalion, shows how steady belief, paired with real conditions and boundaries, nudges behavior toward that belief. Be careful. This is not magical thinking, nor license to control. It is the humble admission that how we are held influences who we risk becoming. Jung would say that when the self in one person recognizes the self in another, a field of becoming opens. Inside that field, choices that once felt impossible begin to feel available. Myth cautions us with a parable. Pygmalion carves a statue and falls in love with his own creation. The gods indulge him. The statue warms into Galatea. The lesson is double-edged. Love can animate, but love can also fall in love with its own fantasy. Persistent positive projection is not sculpting someone to fit your loneliness. It is turning toward the living person, stone, cracks, dust and all, and saying, "I see the line of your becoming. I will speak to it without forcing you into my sculpture." There is a spiritual word for this in many traditions, darshan, a seeing that blesses by the quality of its gaze. In Christian mysticism, agape, willing the good of the other, not the usefulness of the other. In Buddhism, metta, loving kindness that doesn't bargain. In Stoicism, sympathia, the felt kinship of all things, which makes us wish to strengthen what is essential, not what is expedient. Each points to the same movement, a love that refuses to weaponize your weakness or romanticize your strength. How does this look on the ground? A disguised vignette. Jonah, 41, had a career collapse that detonated his confidence. He arrived to every conversation pre-apologizing. His partner Mina listened, not with indulgence, but with a steady gravity. She did not deny the wreckage, she refused to crown it. "I'm not going to let you borrow a smaller name," she would say gently. When Jonah spiraled, Mina would ask for one action aligned with the man she knew. Send the email he was avoiding, return one call, take one difficult walk. She praised the process, not the performance. You kept faith with your future self today. Over months, Jonah's posture changed, not because Mina forced him, but because her gaze made a path, and his courage remembered how to walk it. Notice Mina's discipline. She did not cover Jonah's chores with love. She did not confuse compassion with rescuing. Persistent positive projection isn't a babysitter of the ego, it's a midwife of the self. The midwife trusts the process so deeply, she refuses to take over what the mother must do. When love forgets this, it becomes codependency with a halo. So how do you discern whether someone's belief in you is medicine or manipulation? Time test. Real positive projection survives your truth-telling. Once you say, "Here's my flaw," do they punish with distance or tighten their presence with clarity? Boundary test. Do they respect your pace and your number? If their belief accelerates you past consent, it's not belief, it's agenda. Reality test. Can their praise hold specifics? "You're amazing" is sugar. "I see how you listened to your brother without fixing him today. That restraint is maturity," is bread. Reciprocity test. Do they allow you to see them too? If their love only flows one way, it's elevation on a pedestal, not relationship on a path. And a mirror back to you. Are you the one projecting? Good. That too can be holy, if you do your shadow work. Ask, what part of myself am I trying to outsource into this person? If I stopped believing this about them, would I abandon my own task? Positive projection becomes clean when you keep what is yours, your practices, your boundaries, your life. Let's practice in small, honest ways. 1. Name the seed. Once a week, tell someone you love a specific capacity you see budding in them. You keep returning after hard days. That perseverance is becoming a backbone. No advice, no should, just naming. 2. 1 degree warmer. Choose a habit that aligns with the person you're becoming and raise it 1 degree. If future you writes for an hour, write for 10 minutes today. Then tell the person who holds your potential, "I kept faith." Let their gaze meet the action. 3. Anti-idol journal. When you are dazzled by someone, write 3 ordinary truths about them you've seen. They misplace keys. They need naps. They get shy. This collapses idealization and makes room for love to see clearly. 4. Blessing without ownership. Offer a short internal blessing to a stranger you'll never meet again. May your work be meaningful. This trains the muscle of generous gaze without the hook of control. Archetypally, this sign constellates the lover with the sage. The lover sees beauty. The sage insists on truth. Without the sage, the lover floats into illusion. Without the lover, the sage curdles into critique. Together, they make a trustworthy mirror, warm enough to invite, clear enough to correct. Consider conflict through this lens. In a hard moment, love that remembers your potential will tell you the uncomfortable thing in a way that protects your dignity. It won't say, "You're impossible." It will say, "When you disappear into silence, I lose you. I know you know how to stay. Will you come back?" The difference is surgical. One attacks identity, the other summons capacity. There's also a grief folded into this sign. To hold someone's potential means accepting you cannot make them walk it. You can witness, encourage, and refuse to collude with their smallest story. You cannot live their life. This humility is the safeguard. Without it, projection mutates into mission, and mission erodes love. One more quiet scene. Ava is 29, a nurse who doubts her intuition because her childhood taught her to defer. Her partner Ray keeps a practice. After shifts, he asks for one decision she made that no one else noticed. He writes these on a slip of paper in a bowl by their door. Moved the anxious patient by the window where the light calms her. Asked for a second opinion when the chart felt wrong. On bad days, Ava empties the bowl and reads her own competence back to herself. Ray is not inventing a fantasy. He is building a memory of who she already is. That memory becomes a spine. If you are listening alone right now, you can still receive this sign. Borrow my voice for a moment. You are unfinished in the most beautiful, frightening way. Something larger is trying to happen through you, and you know it because your small habits revolt against it, and your deeper body aches for it. You do not need anyone's permission to begin. Choose one gentle, stubborn action that tells the truth about the person you are becoming. Keep faith. Return tomorrow. When persistent positive projection is present, you feel called up, not called out. Your shame loosens its grip. Your excuses sound tinny against the resonance of someone who knows your name in a larger alphabet. You begin, almost despite yourself, to live toward that name. Not to please them, but to keep a covenant with the truest thing you've seen. Take a breath. Let that gaze find you for a minute longer. The next sign shifts from vision to presence. Not the idea of attention, but the practice of it. Shoulders squared to your soul. Distractions set down. A room made into a sanctuary by the way someone listens. There is a kind of attention that steadies you the way a hand steadies a candle in wind. It is not loud. It is not hungry. It does not audition for your approval, nor does it shrink from what is true. It simply faces you, body, mind, and spirit aligned, until your scattered pieces remember how to gather. Jung would call this an act of temenos making, creating a sacred container in which the psyche feels safe enough to reveal itself. In ordinary language, it is total presence. Presence is not the same as proximity. A phone can be 6 inches away and your soul still feel a continent apart. Presence is also not intensity. People can stare and never actually see you. Nor is it performance, the emphatic nodding, the therapist face, the that has more theater than care. Total presence is quieter, nearer to reverence than technique. It is the lover's warmth guided by the sage's clarity. Soft eyes, clear edges, nothing to prove. From a Jungian angle, presence reorganizes the psychic field. Persona and shadow often duel for control in conversation. One polishes, the other tries to sabotage. But when you are truly met, the self, the center that seeks wholeness, begins to constellate. Symbols rise on their own. The image that won't leave, the memory that returns with new color, the sentence you didn't know you needed to say until the room midwifed it. Presence calls the psyche out of hiding. Biology gives presence a body. The ventral vagal branch of your autonomic nervous system is listening all the time for cues of safety. Eye crinkles, tone, cadence, gestures. When someone's attention settles, not aggressive, not avoidant, your system downgrades threat and upgrades curiosity. Cortical networks involved in reflection light back up. Words come back online. Shame loosens. This is why a calm listener can change a conversation without speaking. They are changing the conditions under which your psyche is willing to appear. Because presence is so potent, we often counterfeit it. 3 common counterfeits. 1. Interrogation disguised as interest. Questions function like searchlights. Your body contracts even as you try to impress. 2. Fixing disguised as care. Advice floods the space. Your experience becomes a problem to close rather than a world to visit. 3. Echoing disguised as empathy. The other repeats your words but never joins your felt experience. You leave more alone than when you arrived. How then do you recognize total presence? The signs are small, almost liturgical. Orientation. Their torso faces you. Their phone is away like a sheathed blade. Tempo. They follow the speed of your truth, not of their anxiety. Micro-attunements. Their face changes with yours, subtly, accurately, without stealing the stage. Silence with spine. When nothing needs saying, they don't panic. They let meaning gather. Curiosity without extraction. Questions arrive to meet your world, not to mine it. A disguised vignette. Leah, 33, had learned to read rooms and disappear. With her partner Noah, conversations used to be a chess match. Who would win insight? In therapy, they practiced two-chair presence. One chair was for the speaker, the other for the holder. The holder's job was not to understand first, it was to make a room. Noah learned to anchor his breath and place one hand palm down on his thigh when his fixing reflex rose. Leah practiced naming one sensation before one story. Tightness in my throat, and I'm afraid you'll think I'm too much. The rule? No solutions for 3 minutes. They discovered that solutions often surfaced by themselves when the psyche felt permitted to breathe. Their intimacy grew, not by drama, but by steadiness. Presence has politics. It refuses to colonize another psyche. Jung warned about the danger of identification, losing yourself inside the other's storm, or its twin, inflation, seeing yourself as the savior of the moment. Total presence stands in the middle. With you, not as you. For you, not over you. This is the warrior's boundary serving the healer's tenderness. A word on conflict. Presence is not a luxury reserved for good moods. Its real exam is disagreement. Can someone keep their shoulders turned toward you while telling you a hard truth? Can they differentiate? This behavior hurts, without global condemnation. You are a disaster. Can they let silence earn its right to speak before they sentence you to a story you didn't live? When love stays present under heat, conflict becomes a kiln. It hardens clay into form rather than exploding it into shards. Practices, simple and repeatable. 1. 3 breaths, 1 permission. Before serious talks, both of you take 3 quiet breaths. Then 1 sentence. I give you permission to pause me if I start fixing instead of hearing. This line invites the sage to guide the warrior in your chest. 2. Time box the diagnose. If analysis is needed, give it a frame. Let's spend 4 minutes describing what happened, not why. Then ask, what does your body need now? Presence attends first to state, then to story. 3. 1 level lower. When you want to debate, try 1 level lower than thought. Sensation arrow, emotion arrow, need. Jaw tight, scared, I need reassurance that you still choose me. Suddenly, the argument about dishes becomes a prayer for belonging. A solution is obvious. 4th, ritual object. Keep a small object on the table during hard talks. A stone, a candle. Its job is to symbolize the 3rd thing between you, the relationship. When either of you starts performing for ego, touch the object and breathe. Return to the field you share. Presence is learned in part from solitude. If you cannot sit with your own feelings without exiling them, you will punish or flee the same feelings in someone you love. Jung insisted on inner work not as a hobby, but as an ethical obligation. A daily check-in, 2 minutes naming sensation, emotion, image, teaches you to host your inner life without violence. Then, when your partner brings theirs, you're not surprised by the weather. You've trained as a good host. Myth lends us images. In the Odyssey, after years of wandering, Odysseus returns disguised. Penelope does not interrogate the costume. She listens for a timbre she has known in her bones. In Zen, the tea ceremony sublimates attention into movement. Every gesture says, you belong in this moment. Presence is a ceremony of belonging without stage lights. The spiritual traditions agree on this point. Presence is a way of being, not a trick. In Christian language it is, where 2 or 3 are gathered, not to judge but to dwell. In Sufi teaching it is adab, right conduct of the heart in the presence of the beloved. In Taoism, it is wu wei, effortless action, which in conversation feels like the exact amount of word and silence that truth requires. Beware the seductions. If you equate presence with agreeing, you will become inauthentic to keep the peace. If you equate it with withholding, you will call distance mystery and starve the bond. True presence pairs warmth with contact. I am here and I am real. I will meet you and I will not disappear from myself to do it. A brief exercise you can do tonight. 4 corners of presence, 6 minutes. Sit facing each other. For 1 minute each, rotate through these corners. 1. Seeing. Here's what I literally see right now. Details, not interpretation. 2. Sensing. Here's what my body feels while with you. Weight, breath, temperature. 3. Savoring. Here's one thing I appreciate in this moment. Specific, small. 4. Staying. Here's what makes staying present hard right now. Name it without fixing. Switch roles. End by placing one hand over your heart, one over your belly. 2 breaths together. No summary. Let the nervous systems file the memory. We can do this. When total presence carries you, a curious humility arrives. You don't need to impress the room. You are the room. Spacious, kind, lit from an unseen center. Words turn honest, even spare. Tears don't embarrass themselves. Laughter comes back quietly, like an animal that trusts the campfire. From here, the 4th sign becomes possible. The way love meets difference and heat without burning the bridge you both stand on. If presence makes a sanctuary, conflict will test the roof, the door, the hearth. We will step into that crucible next, not to avoid flames, but to learn how to cook with them. It is easy to look holy by candlelight. It is harder to look holy by the blue flame of disagreement. But if love is a sanctuary, conflict is the moment the storm leans on the roof. You learn very quickly what the structure is made of. Cheap theater or seasoned timber. Jung called this the dialectic of opposites. 2 truths meeting without annihilating each other, generating a third reality neither could find alone. In mature love, conflict becomes alchemy. Heat applied to raw ore until dross separates from gold. Most of us were not taught this. We learn to win, to withdraw, or to woo the other back with performance. We confuse attack with strength, collapse with peace, and avoidance with wisdom. None of these move the psyche toward wholeness. The self seeks integration, and integration requires contact. Fire is not the enemy. Uncontained fire is. From the body's point of view, conflict is a state problem before it is a content problem. Your nervous system reads raised voices, clipped tones, or a partner's flat affect, and flips from curiosity to survival. The sympathetic system surges. Fight, argue, flight, leave, or fawn, appease. If you have a history of being punished for your needs, you may also freeze. Mind goes white, words evaporate. Until state is regulated, content is weaponized. This is why clever couples can destroy each other. Intellect becomes a scalpel in a shaking hand. So the work begins with containment, Jung's temenos applied to heat. Imagine a hearth, stone walls, a grate, a steady fuel. Love that survives conflict installs these on purpose. Wall 1, shared intention. Not I will win, but we will understand. This is not sentiment, it is an operating system. If the goal is understanding, your questions change shape, your voice changes weather. Wall 2, time and place. No late night trials, no ambushes at the door. You schedule hard talks the way you schedule surgeries, with recovery time and the right tools. Wall 3, language of behavior, not identity. When you scrolled while I spoke, I felt dismissed, not, you don't care about me. Behavior can change. Identity attacks recruit shame, and shame fights for its life. Wall 4, repair ritual. Every conflict ends with stitching, a brief summary of what you each heard, a shared breath, a plan for what happens next. Without ritual, resentment sediment collects like silt in a river until the channel clogs. A disguised vignette. Ruth and Sam fought about money the way firefighters fight fire, with more fire. Sessions were smoke. We shifted the arena. Before any numbers, they practiced a 2-minute somatic check-in. Where is your breath? Where is your jaw? They named one fear without argument. I'm afraid scarcity will make us small. They then used a literal hearth object, a smooth brick on the table. Whoever held the brick had the floor. Whoever didn't, practiced ventral vagal breathing, hand on chest. When the brick exchanged hands, the sentence had to begin with, "What I'm hearing in myself as I hear you is." Within a month, they were solving the same math with 1/10 the heat. The fire became useful. Myth offers a lamp. In Taoist images, yin and yang are not enemies but partners. Each contains a drop of the other. Each reaches fullness and then yields. In conflict, this becomes choreography. Assert, then soften. Speak, then listen. Hold, then yield. In Greek myth, Hephaestus, god of the forge, is lame yet master of fire. An image that says, your wound does not disqualify you from making strong things. It may be the very aperture through which you learn to handle heat. Stoicism gives us tools sharpened on reality. Premeditatio malorum, premeditation of difficulty, says, assume friction will come, rehearse your virtue. Decide your virtues for conflict beforehand. Clarity, courage, courtesy. Courtesy is not politeness as suppression. It is restraint in service of truth. When anger rises, the Stoic asks, what is in my control right now? Answer, my breath, my tone, my timing, my willingness to name my need instead of litigating yours. A crucial Jungian distinction, holding the tension of opposites versus splitting. Splitting is primitive. I am all right, you are all wrong, or reversed. Holding tension is adult. I am partly right and partly protecting myself. You are partly right and partly protecting yourself. In that admission, the third thing, the relationship, can speak. Many couples never hear it because the courtroom is too loud. How to listen for the third thing? Practice triangulation in service of union. Place the issue beside you, not between you. We and the problem on one side of the table. The story that keeps us apart on the other. Give the problem a name that lowers shame but keeps teeth. The vanishing act, the phone ghost, the scarcity story. Together ask, when does this thing show up? What does it feed on? What starves it? You are moving from prosecution to collaboration. Discernment. Not all conflict is creative. 3 red flags that say you are in a harm pattern, not a growth pattern. 1. Contempt, eye rolls, mockery, moral superiority. Gottman's research calls it the best predictor of failure because it is sulfuric acid to respect. 2. Weaponized disclosure. Stories shared in intimacy later used as ammunition. This is a betrayal of the temenos and signals the need for repair or protected distance. 3. Chronic stonewalling. Withdrawal as default. Weeks of silence. Space can be medicine. Absence as punishment is poison. If you see these, slow the project. Get help. Love's integrity includes the possibility of no when safety is violated. A few compact practices that turn fire into forge. Rate the heat. Pause and rate arousal 0 to 10. If either is above 7, call a 20-minute walk, no screens, no stewing. Agree on a return time. This honors biology. It takes about that long for stress chemistry to metabolize. 2 truths and a need. Each person offers 2 truths they can concede about the situation, and 1 clean need. I can see I interrupted you, and I did assume your motive. My need is a pause before feedback so I can regulate. The 5% confession. Even if you're 95% sure you're right, find the clean 5% you can own without bargaining. That 5% is the hinge that opens the door. Future-facing repair. End with 1 behavioral agreement you can test this week, stated in observable terms. Phones off 7 to 9 p.m., not be more present. Archetypally, integrative conflict convenes the warrior, boundaries, courage, the lover, connection, empathy, the sage, perspective, and the magician, transformation. When the warrior dominates, you win scorched earth victories. When the lover dominates, you keep the peace and lose yourself. When the sage hoards the mic, you analyze while the house burns. When the magician acts alone, you spiritual bypass the mess. Together, they build a forge. A brief story. Imani wants directness. Theo needs time to formulate. Their fights hinged on pace. We named the pattern the chase. New rule. Imani can request a talk with a 24-hour window. Theo must offer 2 possible times within that window. During the talk, Theo gets a note card to jot thoughts so he doesn't panic. Imani gets a timer to prevent steamroll. They end with smallest next right step. 6 weeks later, their arguments are still arguments, but the roof holds. They both report the same strange joy. We come out feeling closer. Here is the hidden gift of integrative conflict. It reveals your character and invites its growth. The posture you practice in heat, humility without self-erasure, firmness without cruelty, becomes who you are everywhere else. This is individuation in public, the inner work practiced with another human being as your mirror and ally. Let's be honest about grief. Even with good fire, some bonds break. Integration sometimes means separation when the path of each soul diverges. The aim of this work is not to prevent endings. It is to prevent violence against yourself, against the other, against the truth. If an ending comes, bring the same virtues to the table: clarity, courage, courtesy. This too is love. When integrative conflict is present, you feel held while told the truth. Your defensiveness may spark, but it is met by a larger atmosphere. Dignity protected, complexity welcomed, future possible. You leave not with a scorecard, but with a direction. Take one breath where you are. Place a hand lightly on your chest, as if to say to your own animal body, "We can do heat without harm." The next sign brings us to the core. What happens when defenses fall away and the most tender parts of you stand uncovered? Love either retreats or stays. There is a threshold where every performance dies. You arrive there stripped of strategies, no perfect phrasing, no clever defense, only the raw bruise of being human. Your hands say more truth than your mouth can carry. The question in that moment is not, "Will I be understood?" It is more animal, more ancient. Will I be safe if I show this? Carl Jung considered this a psychological right. When the persona thins and the shadow steps forward, the relationship either becomes a container for transformation or a theater for harm. Vulnerability is not exhibition, it is revelation. The willingness to let the other witness what you usually organize to hide. Fear, grief, need, shame, tenderness, hunger for contact. In the face of such exposure, the response of the one before you is a near foolproof measure of love's maturity. Their words matter less than their orientation. Do they step closer with a steady warmth, or do they manage their own discomfort by fixing, minimizing, moralizing, or fleeing? The body knows before the mind votes. From a nervous system lens, vulnerability is a high arousal state. You are on the cliff edge between connection and collapse. Your system scans the other's microsignals, eyes, posture, tone, looking for permission to remain. A loving response invites ventral regulation. Breath lengthens, chest softens, tears can move without flooding. A defensive response kicks you down the ladder into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. This is why just say it often fails. Disclosure without holding can re-traumatize the very parts that dared to speak. Jung used alchemical images for this moment. Calcinatio, the burning that purifies, requires a vessel that won't crack under heat. The vessel is the other person's presence and boundaries. Presence without boundaries collapses into rescuing. Boundaries without presence harden into judgment. Love's art is to offer both at once. I am with you. I will not take over your life. I am moved. I will not make your pain my theater. 3 counterfeit responses often wear the mask of love. 1. Premature reassurance. You're fine. Don't cry. Translation. My anxiety can't tolerate your feeling. The message your body receives, hide again. 2nd solution sprint. Here's what you should do. This relieves the speaker's discomfort more than your pain. Guidance may come later. First, the wound needs company, not a coach. 3. Spiritual bypass. Everything happens for a reason. Meaning-making is sacred after contact. Used first, it ties a bow on an unbled nerve. How then does true love stay? The signs are subtle. Gaze that lowers the drawbridge. Eye contact that neither invades nor abandons. Posture that makes room. Body angled toward you with softness. Hands relaxed, not clenched, not reaching to control. Speech with air in it. Sentences arrive with pauses large enough for you to feel. No rush to end the moment. Naming without narrating. I'm here. I can see this is heavy. You don't have to move fast. Consent at every turn. Do you want touch? Do you want quiet? Do you want a question or just company? A disguised vignette. Sophia, 36, survived a betrayal years ago and learned to armor with brilliance. With Armand, she experiments with lowering the visor. One evening, she says, barely audible, "I'm afraid that if I need you, you'll resent me." In past relationships, this sentence would have been cross-examined. Armand does something unbearably simple. He breathes, softens his shoulders, and asks, "Would it help if I sat next to you without saying anything for a minute?" He slides closer, leaving a small space as an offering, not a claim. After a while, he adds, "When you're ready, I'd like to tell you what happens in me when you say that." She nods. He says, "I feel protective of that fear, not annoyed. I don't want to be your rescuer. I want to be your witness." No fireworks, no thesis, just staying. In that quiet, Sophia's nervous system updates an old map. Need is not danger here. This recalibration is not romantic fluff. It is neuroplasticity in the service of love. Archetypally, this sign summons the healer and the lover, but also the warrior and the sage. The healer brings soothing, the lover brings warmth. The warrior guards the boundary, no fixing, no invading. And the sage remembers the larger pattern. Vulnerability is a door to intimacy, not a deck to collect. When anyone dominates, distortion follows. All healer, smothering. All warrior, cold. All lover, fusion. All sage, analysis without salt. Integrated, they produce the rare climate where a soul can exhale. A sober word on trust. The internet sells vulnerability as a shortcut to intimacy. It is not. Vulnerability without discernment is self-exposure. Vulnerability with discernment is self-revelation. The difference is pacing in place. Jung would ask, has the temenos been earned? You do not drop your history on a stranger and call it honesty. You share as safety accumulates, like approaching deeper water, only when the shoreline stays in sight. How do you practice a clean response to vulnerability, both receiving and offering? As the receiver, anchor first. One exhale longer than usual, a gentle drop of shoulders, feet on the floor. Let your body signal, I can hold this. Ask consent micro questions. Do you want reflection or presence? Is touch okay? More silence or a question? These keep agency in the speaker's hands. Name the physical. I see your jaw tighten, I'm here. This keeps attention grounded and slows the drama spiral. Contain advice. If a solution knocks, write it down and ask later. Do you want a thought I had, or should I keep it for now? Your patience is medicine. Seal the moment. At the end, thank you for trusting me with this. Anything you need from me in the next day? Commit to one small, reliable act. Reliability over rhetoric rewires trust. As the one revealing, choose the channel. Some truths prefer dim light and a walk. Others need a table and tea. Others a therapist's room. Setting is part of safety. State your ask. I don't need a fix, I need company. Or, I want your perspective, but can you start by reflecting what you hear? Dose, don't dump. Share one layer, check the weather, then the next. Your pace is wisdom, not withholding. Self-soothing nearby. Keep a blanket, water, or grounding object. You are not handing your regulation away. You are inviting co-regulation. Post-share care. After disclosure, do one gentle thing your future self will thank you for. Walk, journal, bath, prayer. You've opened a door. Honor the room. A clinical note. If vulnerability consistently produces dismissal, mockery, or weaponization later, love's sign has inverted into a warning. Jung would counsel withdrawal of projection. Stop telling yourself a heroic story about someone who has shown you their incapacity. Then choose protective distance or professional help. Sanctuaries have doors for a reason. Myth keeps us honest. In Inanna's descent, the goddess passes through 7 gates, removing a symbol of power at each. Crown, beads, robe, until she stands naked before Ereshkigal, queen of the underworld. She dies, is hung on a hook, then is eventually revived and returned. The myth teaches, a descent strips us to essence. We need witnesses who don't panic at our undressing, who know how to wait at the gate with water and a cloak for the return. In relationship, the one who loves you does not rip the gates from their hinges. They accompany, they keep vigil, and when you re-emerge, they reclothe you with dignity rather than lecture you on how you looked down there. The spiritual lineages agree. To stay with another's pain without devouring it is sacred work. In Christianity, compassion means to suffer with. In Buddhism, karuna abides with suffering without drowning. In Sufism, sabr, patient steadfastness, holds the interval between wound and meaning. Love's response to vulnerability is made of these fibers: steady, patient, unshowy, faithful. A brief story of repair. Dev confesses a financial mistake and expects explosion. Past partners made failure a moral verdict. Maya breathes, asks 3 questions to understand scope, then says, "We will make a plan, but first I want to be clear. Your worth is not on trial." They later build a repayment schedule, warrior work, but the sentence that saves Dev's spine is the one Maya chose to lead with. He is able to learn because he is not busy surviving her verdict. And the mirror back to you if you are alone with this episode? The first lover who must respond wisely to your vulnerability is you. Can you sit 5 minutes with your own tremble without scrolling it numb or sermonizing it away? Can you place a hand over your heart like a parent over a child's back and say, "I'm not leaving"? Until you practice that, you will keep outsourcing the job and calling it fate. When true love meets vulnerability, time slows. The room thickens with a gentle gravity. You feel the paradox of being both held and still free. No one is dragging you toward an epiphany. No one is awarding you a role. Your pain is allowed to be pain until it metabolizes into meaning. Later, sometimes much later, gratitude arrives not for eloquent advice, but for a presence that did not leave. Take one soft breath. Let your jaw unclench. The last sign returns us to the ground, where love proves itself daily. Not in declarations, but in the choreography of the ordinary. The liturgy of cups, keys, blankets, doors held, phones face down, footsteps matched. The smallest things repeated build a cathedral. Grand gestures photograph well. Ordinary care builds the house you live in. The truest love announces itself in tiny, repeated decisions that rarely earn applause. The mug warmed before tea. The blanket pulled up without comment. The phone placed face down when you begin to speak. These are not techniques. They are habits of attention that say, again and again, your being matters here. Jung would call this the soul expressing itself symbolically at the edge of daily life. Meaning shows up not as slogans, but as patterns. The symbol is the action itself. Why do the small things matter so much? Because the nervous system keeps a ledger of safety. Big promises register once. Small consistencies write in the margins every day. Reliability tunes the body from vigilance to trust. Over time, those micro-acts compose a climate, and climate is stronger than weather. A single bouquet is weather. Remembering the grocery list item that soothes someone's morning every week is climate. From a Jungian angle, the little things are where archetypes incarnate. The lover isn't only in candlelight, it's in the softening of your voice at the door. The warrior isn't just in boundary speeches, it's in carrying your share of the boring weight. The sage isn't only in deep talks, it's in pausing to verify you understood. The healer isn't only in crisis, it's in refilling a water glass without being asked. Archetypal energy pours through humble vessels, or it doesn't matter at all. Consider ritual, a word often exiled to temples, but it belongs at the sink. Ritual is simply meaning repeated with intention. When love is real, it invents small rituals that fit the actual lives in the room. 3 examples. The threshold pause. Each evening, the first 90 seconds after entering the house are protected. No complaints, no logistics, just presence. A hug that lasts long enough for the exhale to lengthen, eyes actually meeting. You are telling 2 bodies, we arrive before we perform. The mug and the note. One partner wakes earlier, warms a mug, leaves a 2-sentence note. 1 concrete appreciation. Thank you for calling my sister back. And 1 blessing for the day. May your meeting treat you fairly. 2 sentences beat 1,000 vague praises. Specificity tells the nervous system this is not theater. Sabbath edges. A tiny weekly Sabbath, not a whole day, just 3 tech-free hours with a shared anchor. A walk, a board game, a long breakfast, a nap. The rule? Nothing optimized, nothing posted. Love breathes in the space where there is no audience. Myth understands the ordinary as sacred. The Zen tea ceremony skims the extraordinary out of the way so attention can sanctify the ordinary. Scoop, pour, bow. Monastic rhythms, ora et labora, prayer and work, braid devotion into sweeping floors, baking bread, repairing sandals. The Shabbat table is not grand, but it is crowned with light. The week is renewed not by spectacle, but by the repeated lighting of 2 candles and the blessing of bread. These traditions whisper the same intelligence. Do little things with a whole heart, and they become thresholds into the eternal. Modern psychology nods. Implementation intentions, the if-then of habit, outperform vague aspiration. If it is 7:30 p.m., then phones go in the drawer for 90 minutes. If we finish dinner, then we each name one thing we're grateful for in the other that is not about accomplishment. Habits, when tethered to identity, we are people who do small, faithful things, tend to persist. The aim is not to score points, it's to build texture. What about the fear that small acts are small because the love is small? Sometimes that fear is a ghost of earlier scarcity. Discernment helps. Ask, is the smallness stinginess, a refusal to grow, or fidelity, a refusal to perform? Stinginess avoids cost. Fidelity pays cost in quiet currency, time, attention, reliability. The latter makes rooms livable. A disguised vignette. Nadia and Rowan reached therapy not with betrayal but with drift, polite, functional, lonely. They wanted fireworks, they got calendars. We designed a micro-devotion. Each chose one daily act that would be done regardless of mood. Rowan set coffee on Nadia's side with the spoon she prefers. Nadia, who rises later, texted one line at noon naming something Rowan did that morning. Packed lunch, folded laundry, and one feeling it gave her. Steadied, seen. It took 12 days for their tone to shift. By day 21, arguments were fewer. Not because they suppressed them, but because the climate, reliable regard, made uncharitable interpretations harder to believe. No grand romance had arrived. Home had. The little things also include withholding, what you choose not to do. You don't bring your phone to the table. You don't correct trivial details of a story your partner tells to friends. You don't make the hard day about your insight. You practice restraint, which is a cousin of reverence. Stoicism calls this temperance. Jung would say the ego serves the relationship rather than starring in it. A practical caution: do not turn micro-acts into scorekeeping. The psyche hates ledger love. Acts are either offerings or invoices. Only one builds intimacy. If you notice resentment, bring it to the light as need, not accusation. I'm craving reciprocity in the mornings. Can we design something simple you'll offer me daily? Now you are collaborating on climate, not tallying weather. How do you start, especially if you feel awkward or your life is crowded? Pick one axis: morning, evening, arrival, goodbye. Choose one hinge of the day. Attach a single act to it. Keep it tiny enough to survive a bad week. Name it aloud. The first time say, I want to try a little ritual to keep us honest. Naming protects the act from being read as manipulation. Make it observable. 2-sentence note: face-to-face hello. Phones in drawer. Walk to the mailbox together. Vague care makes vague impact. Audit monthly. Ask, what small act is landing? What feels stale? What would feel like devotion now? Rituals should be living. Update them as seasons change. Keep a low center of gravity. If you miss a day, return without drama. The point of ritual is not perfection, it is return. You can also look for the little things that already exist but go unnamed, unpaid labor of love. Make them visible without performance. I noticed you always leave the porch light on if I'm out late. My body relaxes seeing it. Thank you. Visibility is a kind of witnessing that prevents goodness from becoming wallpaper. Archetypally, The small acts constellate the caregiver, a face of the healer, and the steward, a face of the warrior. The caregiver remembers, the steward maintains. When these are absent, the trickster runs the home. Promises made at midnight dissolve by morning. When they are present, even the trickster becomes helpful. Surprise blooms inside reliability, not instead of it. A brief scene. Marcus travels for work. He and Elise created a 3-part travel ritual. 1. Before leaving, he hides a short note somewhere mundane, inside the vitamin bottle, under the kettle. 2. On arrival, he texts a sensorial detail, hotel hall smell of lemon cleaner, AC hum, to anchor them in the same world. 3. On return, they walk the block once, slowly, without luggage chatter. Re-entry for bodies before logistics for minds. None of this is dramatic. All of it adds up to we live one life, even when we are apart. Spiritual language for the little things is everywhere because humans have always needed it. The Benedictines bless the tools of work. Zen praises chopping wood and carrying water. Sufis speak of polishing the heart's mirror through daily remembrance. In each, holiness is smuggled into habit. Love that lasts is smuggled the same way. A final discernment. If you give small acts and receive only entitlement, pause. The point is not to bribe connection. Withdraw the fantasy that care will convert character. Keep your rituals where they are cherished, or at least respected. Love is generous. It is not a martyrdom machine. When this sign is alive, your days click softly like a well-made latch. Nothing spectacular happens, and yet the room feels subtly lit. You begin to trust that if a storm hits, the house knows how to hold. Gratitude shifts from holiday speeches to daily glances. Your love stops asking to be seen on a stage. It starts asking to be lived at the sink. Take one breath, slow and honest. Look around the room you are in right now. What is one small thing love could do here before midnight? Put the phone down, wash a cup, write a note, warm a mug. Love chooses a place to begin and begins. Tomorrow, it begins again. From here we gather the thread, 6 signs woven into one fabric, and close with a quiet challenge, a clear summary, and a gentle invitation for what to watch next. If we have done our work, a quiet map now rests in your hands. Not a script to audition for love, but a way of seeing that lets love show itself. 6 signs, not tricks, not tests. 6 ways the soul speaks when it is safe enough to tell the truth. The room that breathes for 2. The gaze that remembers you. The sanctuary of total presence. The forge of integrative conflict. The staying near tenderness. The liturgy of ordinary care. Each is small when isolated. Together, they form a climate, and climate is what lives are built in. There is a temptation, standing at the end, to rank or romanticize them. Resist that. The psyche rarely moves in straight lines. Some seasons will be all about presence, building a room that can hold your real voice. Other seasons will ask for fire, learning to argue without leaving. Some days, the bravest thing you will do is place a phone in a drawer and warm a mug before anyone wakes. The self is patient. It gathers us by repetition more than revolution. Jung taught that love worth trusting participates in individuation, the long obedience to becoming whole. Real love will not collude with your persona, nor worship your wound. It will mirror your wholeness, protect your dignity in conflict, honor your vulnerability without devouring it, and remember you at the sink. When these signs are present, the question, "Do they love me?" slowly transforms into a better one. Who am I becoming in this atmosphere? If the answer sounds like courage, clarity, tenderness, and truth, you are close to something sacred. Let's compress the hour into a handful of touchstones you can carry in your pocket. Attunement precedes analysis. If bodies cannot breathe together, ideas will become weapons. Belief must be paired with boundaries. The gaze that calls you up is not a leash, it is a light. Presence is a practice, not a mood. Put it on the calendar, guard it like medicine. Conflict reveals your craft. Aim for understanding over victory, repair over righteousness. Tenderness is a test. Love that stays near pain without fixing or feeding on it is love that can be trusted. Small things are not small. Climate beats weather. One consistent act changes a day. Many change a life. If you only remember one thing, let it be this. Love is not proved by intensity. It is revealed by reliability. Fire has its feast days, but the deepest bonds are made of chairs turned toward each other, phones put away. One honest sentence spoken without performance. A hand that knows the way to yours in the dark. Before we part, 2 brief rituals. Portable, human-sized. Yours tonight. Ritual 1. The 30-breath threshold. At the doorway between work and home, literal or metaphorical, pause for 30 quiet breaths. On the exhale, let go of the roles that do not belong in the room you are about to enter. On the inhale, take up the posture you want to bring. Curiosity, steadiness, warmth. If you share life with someone, meet their eyes for 3 breaths before a single logistic leaves your mouth. You are telling both nervous systems, we arrive before we perform. Ritual 2. The smallest next right step. Choose one sign from tonight and reduce it to the smallest act that could survive a hard week. Phones in a drawer 7 to 8 p.m. 2-sentence note at dawn. Rate the heat before we speak. Ask, do you want presence or perspective? Do it daily for 21 days. Audit gently at the end. Keep what worked, evolve what didn't. This is how atmospheres are made. If you are listening alone, I want you to hear this before we close. You do not need permission to practice these signs with yourself today. Synchronize with your own breath. Speak to your potential with kindness that has teeth. Offer your inner life total presence for 5 minutes without scrolling it numb. Hold your differences without splitting into war. Stay near your own weakness without contempt. Do one small, faithful thing in the room you are sitting in. The way we love others is apprenticed, first, in how we love the life inside our own chest. And if you are in a relationship where these signs are scarce, take heart in clarity. Clarity is not cruelty. Clarity is a kind of love, toward yourself, toward the other, toward the truth you will both have to live with tomorrow. Seek help if you can. Build distance where you must. The aim is not to rescue a story at the cost of a soul. The aim is to keep your soul, yours and theirs, intact. You asked for cinematic images, so here is one for the road. Imagine a long wooden table set near a window at dusk. 2 cups steam. The day's noise hums somewhere far. On that table lies the map we drew. 6 signs sketched in pencil, edges smudged by use. You place your hand over it. The paper warms. You fold it and tuck it into the pocket over your heart. When storms come, and they will, you will not have to invent a compass. You will already be carrying one. As we close, a gentle summary for your mind and a benediction for your body. What you'll remember. Love speaks in silence and structure. Look for breath, gaze, presence, craft, staying, and smallness. What you'll practice. 1 ritual, 1 repair, 1 act of ordinary devotion. What you'll trust. That consistency is romance in a grown language. What you'll release. The need to perform your way into belonging. What you'll keep. A heart that can be moved without being managed. If this hour steadied you, consider leaving a trace for someone else to find. Share in the comments 1 small act of love you'll begin tonight. Perhaps use the phrase, seeing beyond words, so we can find each other there. If you want more, the next episode waits like a light in the hall. Shadow work for attachment. How Jung helps heal anxious and avoidant patterns. It will give you a practical way to meet the parts of you that panic in love without handing them the wheel. If you found value here, you know the gestures. Like, subscribe, and tap the bell, not as a transaction, but as a way to keep this circle of attention alive. It costs nothing. It funds everything that matters about this work. Slowness, depth, and a refusal to shout. For now, leave the room a little quieter than you found it. Put a cup in the sink. Send a line to someone who makes your breathing easier. Step outside and feel the air tell you that you're still here. Then come back in and live these signs where no one is clapping. That is where love does its best work.